Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to the 14th Canon and the first Sunday sit down for a couple of weeks. And yeah, there is a lot to talk about. Both of the Arsenal sides playing yesterday. The women, as I said in the preview on Friday, started the day off at 12 o'clock against Chelsea in a real clash to prove, if Arsenal want to go and win the WSL, getting 3 points against Chelsea, invincible champions last year, would be a big step. And we didn't do that. In the end, it was 1-1, a 1-1 draw. Alessia Russo saving a point in the final moments of the game. And Arsenal had a few goals ruled out. A couple of goals ruled out, sorry. And yeah, in my opinion, if you're going to play these Women's Super League matches at the Emirates, and you want the women's game to grow the way it is currently growing, it's similar to the EFL. We're going to need some sort of video assistant referee involved, I think. Because although people will say, oh, Alessia Russo was offside, which, look, on playback, you can make that argument. But for me, that Blackstenius goal, Arsenal were robbed. It's hit her stomach and they've called it for handball. And if they had VAR in that moment, goal would have stood. And obviously, it's not how football works. You can't really dictate what will happen after a moment of, oh, what if that decision went our way? But we could have found momentum to go and win that game and score a couple of other goals. Now, as I said, Alessia Russo did get the equalising goal. It was a good finish. And then after that, Freedom Harlem scored, but she was offside, which was a shame. But again, it was a good finish over Hannah Hampton. And I do feel bad for Hannah Hampton, I must say, because in those dying moments of the game where Arsenal really did build up that momentum, if you were watching the game, you could see the weather just was not going her way. She needed like a cap or something, like goalkeepers used to wear, to keep the sun out her eyes, because you could tell that really did sort of, affect her vision. And yeah, I do feel like maybe if the sun wasn't out that much, if it was later in the day kickoff, and it wasn't in the middle of the day where it is bright, maybe she would have stood a chance at saving those goals. But either way, let's talk about the Chelsea goal. Actually, it was a lovely little dink over from Thompson to score her first WSL goal for Chelsea. I'm pretty sure she scored recently, but it wasn't in the WSL. I could be wrong. Please fact check that for me, Chelsea fans, if you're watching this. But yeah, it was a good finish. Van Domselaar didn't really have a chance, to be honest, with the finish like that. It was just guided, a little dink into the top corner. But yeah, I think for me, it was a lot of Chelsea coming at us, and it took us a little while to get in the game. Chelsea probably should have scored a couple other goals. That's if there is one thing to take away from this Chelsea team, they always seem to find a way to win. But I could be wrong. I'm going to fact check this, because I could be wrong. I don't want to get this wrong. They do seem to find a way, which is what champions do, and that's why they've won so many titles. But if you look in their last couple of games, they've really struggled, throughout the season to really put games to bed. And I think that's a fair assessment. If you look at their wins, the majority of them are by a goal. And yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So if there's one thing to take away from Chelsea, it is that maybe they could score a couple more goals. Um, However, they don't need to because they're getting the job done, and that's all they need to do if they want to win. Um, so yeah, moving on to the later kickoff, Sunderland against Arsenal. It's a very similar story, really. I thought Sunderland, they made the game slow in the first half. They made it boring, which is, in all fairness, the best chance that any team will have when it comes to beating Arsenal. I felt like it was a lot of Sunderland players on the floor, really slowing the game down, wasting time. Everything that you hear not Arsenal fans, rival fans of Arsenal having a go at Arsenal for. The amount of times that, oh, this and that's on the floor, they're just trying to win a set piece and all that. However, the set pieces worked for Sunderland. Dan Ballard scored the opening goal. And to be honest, it does feel a bit like a loss. I've had a day to reflect on it, but I feel like if you're going to drop points the way that we did yesterday, it doesn't feel like a draw. And that's what cost us last year. Our lack of efficiency in front of goal. We didn't really take all of the chances that we could have. Now, I'm not going to sit here and blame our attack because although, yes, we were slow and we weren't particularly great, we still created chances where if we've got Victor Gyökeres or Kai Havertz in the box, even Jesus, maybe we do go and win that game. And I do think injuries are a big part to play in this. If you look at our injury list, based off the 6 players that are currently out injured, you can build 2 very stable front lines out of that. Obviously, Odegaard is out and he's not necessarily an attacker, but if I recall correctly, has drifted into those wide areas for Arsenal and especially for his country. So, yeah, I do feel like injuries are playing a big part at the moment. However, from what I'm hearing, players should be returning for the North London derby in a couple of weeks' time, which is huge news. Gyökeres, Jesus, Havertz, Madueke, Odegaard, Martinelli, all back, which is really going to be good for us and add the added depth which we need because for whatever reason, Arteta only made 1 substitution yesterday. I I don't know why. I don't know if it's a lack of trust from the manager in the players that he's got on there. Max Dowman, you can understand. You know, he's 15. He doesn't need to be playing and chucked into big games like this. Harriman Anus has never played in the Premier League before, so you could make the argument for that, even though he is a striker. And to be honest, against Brighton, he looked pretty good. I thought his movement was outstanding. I just think, if there's anything that he's going to work on, it should be his finishing. However, that being said, he's 17 years old. So if you look at Harriman Anus, he's got the potential to go right to the very top, in my opinion. Based on what I've seen from him so far at Brighton, I can see the vision. Just like I saw the vision in that man and Ketia. And look, he's just won the FA Cup for Crystal Palace. So yeah, but if you look at the one that really baffles me the most, it's Ethan Nwaneri. I don't understand at all why Ethan Nwaneri just isn't getting any minutes. It seems silly to me when you've got this many, the amount of players that we've got out injured, and Nwaneri's not contributing at all. Now, you could say the Premier League's physical demanding league. He's only 18. He's still getting his body ready for it. But if you look at the picture of Nwaneri, he looks big. He looks strong. So I don't think that's a problem, to be completely honest. I'm disappointed in Arteta for not being brave and chucking Nwaneri on. But instead, he brings on Mosquera to see the game out, which, yeah, cool, you can do that. I don't have a problem with you doing that, but it's just not very exciting making one substitution and it's a defender. When we need to see the game out, yeah, it's cool we brought the defender on for doing that, but the only substitution, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, anyway, the way we conceded the goals is what I want to talk about next, because the first one, set piece, it's just poor from Declan Rice, and it's really unlike Arsenal to concede in the manner that we did, in the way that we did. The amount of goals we conceded multiple goals, and that's not happened this season before. Last time it happened was, I want to say, Anfield, quite a while ago now, a few months back. And yeah, I thought letting the set piece come in, Declan Rice, he let the ball bounce, which you never want to do when you're defending a set piece. And then Ballard just absolutely thunderbolted it into the top bins. Then Bukayo, Saka, Declan Rice winning the ball back, making up for his, you could say, mistake defensively after conceding from the set piece. Makes up for it by winning it high up the pitch. I think it went to Eze Marino, and then obviously Saka, who, it was a brilliant finish from him on his right foot near post, the tiniest of gaps that the goalkeeper left, and Saka just absolutely smashing it, which is what you want to see. Then I think everyone thought, right, to really break this team down, it's going to need a moment of magic from Eze, who can provide that. Saka can provide it. And then Trossard from the edge of the area. And he's taken it past the player as well, by the way. Brilliant skill from Trossard. And then an outstanding finish to make it 2-1. And that's when we all thought, right, let's keep this up. We've got the momentum now. Maybe make a change, maybe make a substitution to really keep this up and keep going and get a third, see the game out. But we didn't. And then it was just constant pressure from Sunderland again, like it was in the first half. And Don Robbie, scores his first goal for Sunderland. His first shot, and then his first goal, which is just brilliant. To be honest, I think the blame, loads of people were saying, oh, blame Raya. And I do think that is correct. I'm more blaming the fact that there's just no communication between him and Gabriel to what's going to happen. Like, Gabriel's kind of like just out-muscled in the moment, to be fair to him. So there's really not much that he can do, which then leaves it to David Raya, who just makes an absolute mess of it. And then it was 2-2, obviously. And then right at the very end, who was it that sent the cross in? It's probably Saka that sent the cross in. And Calafiori, free header at the far post. I didn't think Calafiori had his best game, especially in that second half. I thought the moment got to him, like it did with a lot of the players, because Sunderland did frustrate us quite a lot. But yeah, he did all right with the attempts. It was saved and parried out by the Sunderland goalkeeper. And then Dan Ballard again. Oh, he got on my nerves. He got on my nerves last night. Blocking the final attempt from Marino, who had the chance to win the game in the dying moments. However, some things just aren't meant to be. And Dan Ballard got in the way of the shot. And yeah, that's when the referee basically blew for full time. And yeah, we leave the Stadium of Light with a point. Now, loads of fans are saying, look, if you look at it, it's not a bad point. Sunderland's a difficult place to go. I agree in that sense that Sunderland is, of course, a tough place to go. And it's another away day ticked off the list of these physical, difficult opponents, and they've done so well this season. Sunderland, they're still unbeaten at home. They've gone and won at Stamford Bridge, which not many teams can do. So yeah, credit where credit's due. Obviously, Sunderland have been incredible this year, and it will be interesting to see how they do throughout the season, because if you look at some of their better players, the ones that are starting regularly, you look at the left back that they signed from Atletico Madrid, I believe, Simon Adingra. Who else who's the midfielder? Siddiqui, I think his name is Siddiqui. They're all going to be going off to AFCON. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust to that and see how they perform during AFCON and how they do afterwards as well. But I don't think they'll get relegated, but it'll be really interesting to see how Sunderland do. However, I've been going on for 16 minutes now, so I will end it there. Thank you very much for watching all the way through. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. I cannot remember who the women have got. It's the international break now, so England will be on. So not making any England content because that's boring. So yeah, I will see you later. Maybe I'll do an international break report. Let me know. Let me know if you want to see something.